Shalom, shalom, family. All esteem to Yahuwah on this year dedication, hallelujah, also known as Hannukah, or really I should say Hannukah, also known as dedication. Definitely wanted to bring forth a little bit of insight during this time period. And for us, it technically started, you can see on the community, we began our feast on Yom Rishon, this past Yom Rishon evening, and we'll be keeping it for 7 days going into next week. And make a long story short, it's a Baruch time. And surprise, surprise, it's really about the reset, right? The idea of one dedicating themselves unto Yah, hebraically, is going to take you back to the Hebrew letters chet nun, right? And the chet, we know, the fence, right? The tent wall of separation. The nun, right? The seed, the life, the continuation of the blood. So when you put the two together, you get the idea, right, of dedication. And the picture that our ancestors saw when it came to dedication, or really when it came to the chet nun, I'll say first, they would picture the idea of an infant being trained, right, to eat, the palate of the infant being trained to suck by putting a sour substance at the roof of their mouth. And they're training the child's palate to be able to consume a certain type of way, to be able to eat a certain type of way, right? So saying all this to say, it's the idea of introducing something new for a course or a path of life that Abba Yahuwah is leading one to follow, right? That's hebraically what the idea of the chet nun will take you back to. And of course, when you think about even in the world, right, Christianity and all this stuff, people, not in the truth, they dedicate their babies. What do? They take their babies to the altar and they have whoever, pastor, whoever, pray over them. And saying all this to say that this is how you know the world has a concept of what it is, but praise Yah that he's revealed us the truth of what it is, which is why during this time period, we keep this feast. Of course, we're not keeping no Christmas, no Tammuz Day, right? No Thanksgiving, no none of that stuff. Like that's all, that's all pagan, right? Jeremiah 10 tells you don't do the way of the heathen. But in this time period, how much more should we be doing this? Because guess what? Mashiach kept dedication. Read John 10, right? Matter of fact, it says that he walked over 70 miles in the cold, right? To be able to keep the feast of dedication. Read about this in John chapter 10. So saying all this to say that this is a very special time period where we here at Reset, we're rededicating ourselves unto Yahuwah by allowing him to reset us in so many ways, right? And first and foremost, it begins with what we're sacrificing, what we're offering up unto him that is acceptable. And it's ourselves, it's our hearts, right? The Zabah, the place of sacrifice, right? Something that if it don't mean nothing to you, how would it mean anything to Yahuwah, right? So it can't be a last minute thing. It can't be something that, oh, this is just what I have left, so I'm just going to give Yahuwah what I have left. No, it really should be what you have set aside and really sought Yahuwah on what is pleasing unto him to give unto him, right? And we know this based on, you think about where does this feast come from or the origin of it, right? So, of course, the Maccabees, right? We talk about the Maccabees, right? Yehuda Mac, right? Yehunathan Mac, right? All of the brothers, right? Of the son of the priest, right? Mattiyahu, right? All of his sons were dedicated to defending our temple in Jerusalem when the Greeks came and defiled it, and when when they offered those abominations, right? All the stuff that was going on during that time period, like it was a very strong time period where we had to stand firm. And to be honest with you, had that not happened, because remember, this is after Daniel's time period, before Yahusha's time period. Had that not happened, there might not have been a temple, right, during Mashiach's time period. So hallelujah, like that was definitely a time period where we see that in the 10th month, also known as Kislev. This was a feast that they kept unto Yahuwah after being able to defend the temple. And obviously you can read about this in the Maccabees, and really it's in the first Maccabee book. But in all the Maccabee books, it talks about just their zealousness and their zeal for the Torah to be able to defend our temple. So that's definitely something that we're going to be going over, hallelujah, during this time period. But even prior to that, right, the first time you really see that term dedication, right, it's in two places. One place I will say, of course, is the temple in Jerusalem, right, with Shalomah, also known as Solomon, when he was set apart to build the temple, right? His father Daoud had a visitation from Yah, who basically told him, hey, it's too much blood on your hands to build this temple. Your son Solomon is going to build it, right? So after, he got everything together for the temple, right, when it was time to actually dedicate the temple, you can read about this in 1 Kings, right? It was the 7th month, which literally means that everybody knows the feast that's in the 7th month. 3 feasts in the 7th month, but there's only 1 feast in the 7th month. That's 7 days plus, really 8 days. And we all know that that's Sukkot, right? Feast of Tabernacles. So they were technically keeping Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles. But in addition to them keeping this feast, right, they were also dedicating the temple that had just been built unto Abba Yahuwah, right? So again, you see that term, it says that Solomon and all the priests underneath him, all of the Levites, everybody who was basically underneath, the scribes, everybody who was underneath the legislation or the kingdom when he had been given the kingship, right? When he had been given rule in Jerusalem, the kingdom being passed on to him from his father Daoud, right? They all were in agreement to the dedication of this temple during this time period. But what's even crazier is that even prior to that, right? If you read in the book of Numbers, chapter 7, right? You'll see that when the initial tabernacle of Moshe was built, right? Well, it's Yahuwah's tabernacle, but through him giving insight to Moshe, to, get the material. You can read about that in, the latter part of Shemoth, Exodus. After that was all basically together and being ready to be presented before Yah. Same thing as, during Solomon's time, the princes, the priests, everybody underneath the government order of the kingdom. During the time period of Numbers, right? Going into that time, Bamidbar, entering into the wilderness, you had every prince from their tribe, from the 12 tribes, was presenting their best offering before Abba Yahuwah in the dedication of the tabernacle, right? And saying all this to say, this wasn't no light stuff, right? Like they were, obviously they're sacrificing animals, but they were giving of their best during this time period. Now, again, it wasn't technically called the Feast of Dedication, right? But it was a time period where they were dedicating themselves unto Yahuwah after something major was done as far as Yahuwah visiting them through allowing them to have a temple in which he himself dwelled. Hallelujah. So it's a huge concept as far as dedication. Dedication really takes you back to the idea of when Abba Yahuwah baruchs you with his presence. What's your response? Right? He's baruching you with the temple. He's baruching you with the tabernacle. He's baruching you with so many resources to be able to commune with him when he doesn't have to do that. Right? And we know in our time, it's Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. So saying all this to say, the dedication is deep, right? And, again, there's so many places throughout the script where you can find the idea of dedication, but the original, really first place that you really gonna see it is in that Bamidbar Numbers, right? Where the princes of each tribe, right, who were really chiefs, heads of the tribes, right, heads of their fathers' houses, as the script says, man, they presented their best offerings before Abba Yahuwah, hallelujah, in the dedication of his tabernacle. And again, they didn't call it Feast of Tabernacles, right? Or I'm sorry, they didn't call it the Feast of Dedication, but what they were doing is they were dedicating themselves by bringing forth their best offering unto Abba Yahuwah. So again, that's just something to meditate in this time period where you are communing with Abba Yah. It's definitely a time period to gather if Yahuwah has called you and given you mishpachah to gather with, but keep in mind the purpose of why you're gathering. We ain't gathering in vain. We're gathering to rededicate, retrain, redevote ourselves unto Yahuwah for his purpose in Yahushua HaMashiach. So, hallelujah, much ahav and shalom. And yeah, we'll be letting the Ruach lead us in, the various words he wants us to talk about during this time period, because obviously the theme has been what the Ruach has been speaking within this order for sure has been a reset. And I see it falling right in line with the dedication. Hallelujah. So love y'all, and we'll see y'all soon. Shalom.